public sector, and then you'll have the private sector where it's private individuals, and those should be taking place. So right now, everything is on time to be able to deal with this in the future. We all know this is unprecedented rain that we got, but still some different things have come to the forefront that we may be able to do. I will also say the state, for their part, and to the legislators, I want to thank them that was part of that, and many of them are here today. We made one of the largest investments in stormwater damage in our state's history this year in the budget. So if it can come about to where we can use FEMA dollars and state dollars, that'll be a good day for a lot of Missourians. So, but all those things are yet to come. So that's where we're at today, and to be here and kind of assess the damage myself while I'm here today. So with that, Kelly, I think we can open up for questions. I know SEMA's here and FEMA, if you have direct questions to them, if you would maybe do the questions you want to ask with me first, and then we can switch over to SEMA and FEMA if that's what you like.
We have time to take a handful, so we'll just take turns. So who'd like to go first? One of you.
Governor, can you speak to this, showing the presence here, that this is for residents, that help is on the way, reassuring that residents and businesses?
Yeah, most certainly, and I think everything's on time. It won't be quick enough, and I think that's important. People don't get much of an expectation of how quick things will happen, but yeah, they're on the ground today doing assessments here, and then I think once that declaration's on the ground, where the everyday citizen can go in there and say, hey, here's what I've lost, or here's what my problems are, or what my needs are, and they'll assess that right away. That should not be a monthly process. That should be hopefully within days or weeks. But again, I don't want to make sure anybody any faults.
And just nuts and bolts, somebody living down there, if they apply after you get the declaration, what could they get in return?
Well, they'll analyze that. They'll go into that office and say whether it be furniture, whether it be a house, whatever it might be on the personal sale, and then they will evaluate that, and then that's how they assess the evaluation of what they get.
In other words, would they get cash or a low interest loan? What would they get monetarily?
Well, I'll let FEMA speak to that, because that's really more where they should be speaking. But SBA will be on the ground too, so there'll be things of that nature. And then again, there's two different pools of money, but I would rather FEMA really answer those questions for you, to be more direct on that.
Governor, just reaction, seeing some of the images of that flooding, seeing, of course, just the piles of people's belongings. What's your initial reaction to all that?
Well, I think, unfortunately, I've been to too many of these since I've been governor, because you had the devastating floods up in northern Missouri that we had, where whole towns were engulfed for days before it would come down. I think when you look at the tornadoes, all the things we've dealt with in the state, you know, it's never a good sight to go into these. But I will tell you, again, it's about picking up the pieces now. And it's about us making sure we have all the tools we can to help people get back on their feet. And I think that's a priority that we all agree on that's standing here today. So that's the process we're going through right now.
You dealt with drought last week. This week you're dealing with floods.
Yeah, well, it seems like a lot of times it's a first for me when I do things, but we just did a drought declaration last week, and a few days later we're doing a flood declaration, you know, so it's very unusual. But in fairness, this was such an unusual amount of rainfall that hit this particular area in that short of time period. So, you know, but those things happen, and we got to deal with them. You know, nobody has control over Mother Nature, so again, it's about how fast we get the services out here. And I think it's more important, how do we support the local councilmen? How do we support the local communities, the mayors and the cities? And I think, again, that's where I got to rely on the legislators to do their part, you know, to help us and give us guidance. So we're here to help.
Will you be making an endorsement in the Missouri Senate race?
No. I've already voted on the Missouri Senate race, so I'm good.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
yes, ma'am.
So what do you do for the people that are homeless right now, as far as monetarily? What do they do? Where do they go get funds who are like people on the streets right about now?
Yeah, again, that'll be a good thing. I'm going to let Jim answer that question, FEMA both. I know on our website, the governor's website, they can go directly there. They'll see what that process is, what numbers to call, if they have the ability to make a call, what internets to go to, if they can get to the internet. But I think also our community resources, where our faith-based community, our community centers, the local levels, they need to reach out to them. That information is available for anybody. We just got to make sure we get it to them. And I think the other thing we talked about, we'll have people going in the areas. I think on the ground they're going to start like this week too, to go in the areas to help those people at different times and different events in different cities, to be able for people to come in and see them, where they can walk in and talk to a person too, if they don't have the capabilities to do it over the internet.
Do you see these reoccurring extreme weather events as a sign of climate
You know what? I know that argument's out there all the time. It's a political argument, but look, we've had floods in Missouri for many years. We've had droughts in Missouri for many years. When you look back on it, you know, I think that's who we are in Missouri. You know, but I think again, there's going to be more droughts. There's going to be more floods. It's just a history of who we are in this state and where we live. On that, thank you all. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you. Yep. Let's get
They have a question for Andrew from FEMA.
FEMA.
All right. Thank you, Governor.
Yep.
So as the governor said, our state and local partners have been very proactive in doing the initial assessments so that they can make sure that they have the information to us in a very timely way. So we got the request to come do joint public damage assessments, which we are on the ground as of today doing. So we're going to every single neighborhood that those local emergency managers have identified as impacted by the flooding. So we were in Ellendale this morning. We were right here in University City today, making sure that we are documenting and capturing all of the damage to individual households. So we saw flooded homes, we saw flooded basements. So we also have public damage assessment teams looking at public infrastructure. So that's your buildings, your fire station, your roads. So we're compiling all of that information along with our state and local partners so that the governor can submit his disaster request. And once we receive that, we'll make sure that we act in a very fast way to make sure that we have thoroughly vetted that and get it up to the president once we've determined those meet the threshold. So we've been working with the state and local partners since this event happened, early morning hours, making sure that we're moving just as fast as we can alongside our state partners.
In layman's terms, what can the victim get? Will it be a check? Will it be a low interest loan? Tell us about the financials.
Sure. So assuming that a disaster declaration would be declared for the individual assistance program. So there's two programs, the individual assistance program, that's actually money to individuals. So that's something where for those uninsured losses, so unmet needs, uninsured losses, that they can submit documentation and FEMA can help them work through the process. That might be temporary rental assistance. There's a whole myriad of things. If their car was uninsured, they qualify under the program, then they might be able to be eligible for those funds. So that is money to individuals.
Can you, first off, you say your first and last name, and then my question for you is, you said you're working on this fast. If it is declared, how fast are we talking about? Are we talking about next week, next month? What's the timeline?
Right. So my name is Andrea Spillers. I'm the Region 7 Regional Administrator for FEMA. So assuming that we get the disaster declaration, our goal is to have a disaster recovery center within days. So we will be back on site to make sure that we've opened up a facility where people can actually come to us and show us their loss, register to be eligible for individual assistance.
And if it gets submitted by the state by Wednesday, what is the reasonable turnaround on when that could start?
So our goal is to turn that around extremely quickly. We know that people are hurting, they're in need. So we're gonna, once we get that request from the governor, we're gonna turn that around within very quickly, very quickly.
For all the people that lost their cars and that don't have transportation to their job or wherever they have to go, are you all working with the Metro bus service in order to get, like, you know, funds for bus passes or something, some kind of local transportation immediately so they don't lose their jobs?
So I would recommend that either our state partners, your local folks that are on the ground right now, have the capacity and the ability to meet those very immediate needs now. So your local faith-based organizations, your local volunteer organizations, through 211, United Way, Red Cross. So those are the individuals that we work with and that are right here in your community right now. So I would just encourage folks who are in need immediately and now to reach out to those agencies.
And just to be clear, FEMA only covers uninsured damages. Like if I have insurance on my house, it's between me and the insurance company, and FEMA doesn't enter into it.
That's right. It's uninsured loss. Yes.
I
Do
think
you have a
one
list
more.
of the people? Do you have a list of people that they can go to immediately to find those places for transportation? Do you have a list on the website somewhere where they can go to those faith-based organizations? You know where they are?
Yeah.
Some of it can go
Local
to
people.
recovery.mo.gov and it'll list some information on there. Recovery.mo.gov.
Can I ask one quick question? Is there a difference from FEMA's perspective when it's a flash flood situation like this, a lot of that coming up from the sewer system versus some of the river flooding that we've seen in our region in years past? Is there a difference there, or is it all kind of the same?
So we're looking at damage to properties, damage to people. So the water comes in, it's destroyed their furniture. We're not necessarily concerned why that water is there, only that they have a need that's unmet and whether they qualify for the program.
All right, thank you, Andrea. We're going to get
Jim.
real quickly. We'll let Steve. All right, any questions for Steve?
What's the dollar amount threshold that the state needed to reach in order to get the federal declaration?
And my name is Jim Remillard. I'm the State Emergency Management Director, and it's right at $10 million of public infrastructure damage.
That doesn't even count like personal losses.
No, ma'am.
So way high. So we're talking way higher than 10 million, I think.
So when Bi-State, for instance, says that they may have $18 million in damage, that we're talking about that as well.
Correct. It will be in the determination from the federal government if it's eligible, and they're in the process of that now.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Well, I mean, as FEMA, obviously, as we wait for FEMA, you guys are doing stuff right now. Is there something that you would want the public to know about access and availabilities right at this moment until we get that FEMA declaration?
I would encourage them to continue communicating with their local officials, their emergency management officials locally, the county government. So we have had damage from Montgomery County, St. Charles County, St. Louis County, and St. Louis City. Those agencies all have services and resources available to the public, and I would encourage the communities to still continue communicating with those so we can get them the resources.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Governor.
Thank you. Always good to see you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Jim.